I went to 150 networking events over the past 12 months, which is almost 3 events every single week, and completely changed my business and my personal brand. In this video, I'm sharing how these events helped me grow my brand, land high-ticket clients, establish my personal brand in the Vancouver community, including this one top secret hack I use as an introvert to make networking feel easy. This video is for you if you ever thought that you hate networking, because honestly, same. This will change how you think about networking. So just for context, this is my 4th year running my business full-time, and for the first 3 years, I refused to network. I believed that networking was really unproductive and it would be a much better use of my time to just sit down at my desk and work and not go out, not meet any new people, because I could not see the benefit of it. But I started attending events and putting myself out there in May of 2024 when my influencer marketing consulting business and my talent management agency had to close down because I completely mismanaged it. And this is when I realized that I had to change something about the way that I approach business. So I started attending networking events. And one of the first things that I approached networking was with saying yes to every single thing. And I just promised myself for the next 6 months to say yes to every single opportunity, to every single connection call, to every single coffee connect, to every single mastermind. Wherever I will be invited, the answer had to be yes. And that was the deals that I had with myself from May up until November. I'm honestly extremely grateful that I did that, and that was a deal, because the way of how I grew my business and how I polished my entire offers and the communities that I built and the connections that I have built, I would honestly not be able in a position to do that if that wasn't the deal. Of course, there were events where I would walk in the room and I realized that the vibe wouldn't be the right for me, or it's just like there is no benefit for me to be there. But the more you go to events, the easier it is for you to very quickly realize, even just from like reading description, if this is something that you are aligned with or you're not aligned with. But in order to get very, very good at kind of filtering those events is when you're going to shit tons of events at first. There are 3 things how attending networking events really helped me grow my business, both coaching business and my content creation agency, the Sell Well. The first one is that you get very, very good at presenting yourself to a very large amount of people at a very minimum amount of time. And the very first time where you introduce yourself, you get a little weird, because to be honest, it's a very weird experience. But the more you train yourself to say your elevator pitch, the better you become. And I remember at the very beginning when I just started attending networking events, it was always like, oh, it's just do personal branding coaching, and then I just close down my business, and so I'm just like trying to figure out what it is that I'm doing, and maybe I am looking for connections here. The energy was very low. Now, regardless of how I'm feeling, what am I doing, simply because it's so engraved into my brain, I go and I say, hi, my name is Daria. I'm a personal branding coach, and I help service providers, women entrepreneurs, and business owners build a profitable personal brand on Instagram to get more clients when they don't have 10,000 followers. Boom. Now, very important tip, your elevator pitch will always be more niche down and much, much smaller than who you actually are and what it is that you're actually doing. It will be always like this 1% thing that who you really are. And that's okay. We want this thing to be much, much shorter, much more simpler, much more optimized, because if I'm going to be sitting down and I'm going to be telling you my entire life story, how I immigrated from Russia and how I went to school and then how I started this thing and then another thing, and last year my husband and I got a dog. Very cool piece of information, but you don't need to know that, because what you need to know as somebody I'm at the networking event with and we are chatting about our businesses, how can I be of service and what kind of problems I know how to solve. That's it. So how you need to show up, talk about yourself, is coming from the perspective of what kind of problem you know how to solve. I know how to solve a problem of building a personal brand on Instagram when you don't have tons of followers. So this is a problem that I'm approaching with right away. And this allows me to have connection with the people that I'm talking to, where we are talking about their challenges, their goals, their frustration with social media, regardless of how many followers they have. And it allows me to build a connection that I need, because my introduction was intentional right away. The second way how networking events help me grow my business is there is way more trust in person. And we can all agree with that. Right now, online world is just flooded with all AI content, and distrust is our default reaction whenever we are meeting somebody. And it's very, very hard when you're meeting somebody online, when you're seeing their profile for the very first time, be like, oh my God, yes, I love this hair, go take all my money, right? It almost rarely, probably at this point, never happens anymore. But it's much easier for us to build this connection when we're meeting each other in person, because you and I will be chatting for 10-15 minutes. You are probably not going to be spending your precious 15, 20, 30 minutes of your time just religiously watching my content. That's probably the behavior of people who are like ready to buy. If you're meeting me for the very first time, you're not gonna waste time on that, right? But when you and I are chatting in person and like I'm right here in front of you and we're having conversation about Instagram, we're having conversation about your challenges, your struggles, how you're building your business, how you're getting your clients, we are getting this undivided attention. We are also building trust with each other because I'm telling you some kind of stories from my personal life, you're telling me stories from your personal life, and this is how we are building those connections. So it's much easier for you to build trust with your prospective clients when you're meeting them in person rather than online. And that's another thing. I'm very patient with calculating ROI on every single event that I go to. I just came back from a 2-day mastermind and I'm gonna go to another conference in 2 days. I will not be calculating ROI from that mastermind on Monday, simply because it will take time for me to actually see the return on those investments. And I have so many stories that prove that where me meeting my prospective clients in the networking environment, it's such a strong touch point, but I'm very intentional with that. I'm going to be meeting somebody at an event, we're going to chat, we're going to have a great conversation. I will direct them to my Instagram, where they will be checking out my resources, where they will see me popping up on their stories, on their reels, on their carousel, quite a lot over the next few days, over the next few weeks. And then they will reach out to me and then we're gonna talk about more strategically. And those clients coming from a networking event, they're much easier to convert into a client. However, it takes time and patience. I typically see 1 to 4 months lead time for me to convert a client that I had a really good chat with at one of the networking events, actually converting into a client. So be patient, post content, be consistent, which is exactly leads me to my third point on how networking events help me grow my business. I treat networking events as part of the sales funnel, where it's one of those touch points. And because I have a pretty active social media where I do post quite a lot on my stories, on my carousel posts, on my reels, and it's pretty easy for people to interact with me. But I don't necessarily see the engagement from those people right away, but they might be lurking. They are still watching, and watching, it's a new engagement. This is how people are engaged with us. And I would go to a networking event and somebody would come up to me and say, oh my God, I follow you on social media. I just watched your reel about X, Y, and Z. But they don't like it, they don't comment it, maybe they shared it, maybe they saved it, I don't know. That's not the point. The point is that they watched it. This is my new connection point. This is my new touch point with them. And I know that the next time they're going to see me online, it's going to be much easier for them to interact with me. And during this networking event, I also use this as a time for me to learn about their challenges, their goals, which I can then use in my content to talk about one particular problem that my client is experiencing. But basically, treat your networking events as a part of your sales funnel. They're probably not going to see your clients coming out of a networking event and paying you money right away, but it takes time and it takes consistency. So please make sure that you prioritize your social media, and whenever you do direct people to your Instagram, there is something for them to be directed to. And this is actually why I intentionally chose not to have a business card, because whenever somebody asks me, hey, I would love to stay connected, I'm like, me too. Here is my Instagram. Let's stay connected there. Because with the business card, every time I come home after a networking event, I always have like this giant bag full of business cards, and they're all going into the garbage. because I'm probably never going to be referencing them again. And I don't even remember like half of those business cards at that point. But if somebody added me on Instagram, you just know that we will stay connected. Now, of course, attending 150 networking events is a lot. And I'm way more protective of my time right now than I was last year. So I'm not at capacity to say yes to every single thing that people invite me to, unfortunately. But while my events have reduced in quantity, they have significantly increased in quality, because now the events that I go to, they cost way more. It can be anything from like $200, $300, $500 dinner to a $3,000 mastermind, which I just attended yesterday. Or I have to travel somewhere to have access to people I don't typically have access to. And that's basically the power of networking events, where you buy yourself access for the rooms you wouldn't have otherwise get to. And as an immigrant building my own business in Canada, that was like one of the biggest things that changed my entire business and my entire approach, because I had no business connections whatsoever. I was brand new. Nobody knew me. Nobody knew what kind of problems that I could solve for people here in the Vancouver community space. So it was up to me to introduce myself to everybody and build those meaningful connections. And now I can very confidently say that I have such an incredible and strong community of absolutely the best women entrepreneurs here in Vancouver and down the States as well, simply because I was able to put myself out there and connect. And one simple hack that I do as an introvert that has to go to so many networking events all the time, I actually do just two things. First one is I kind of have to bribe myself before going to a networking event. I would arrive to the place earlier and I would go grab coffee and just like sit with myself, get with my thoughts, like collect my entire social battery prior to attending this networking events. And it just kind of became my own ritual that I go and like grab a coffee, just sit down, maybe read a book. Sometimes I would just scroll, sometimes I would reply to emails, or I would just like not do anything at all. But I would have this like 5-10 minutes of complete silence and just enjoy my own company. That being the biggest game changer, because even just spending those like 5 to 10 minutes by myself has allowed me to preserve my social batteries, just so I can be super active and super social for the next few hours that I'm gonna be at the event. And the second thing is I always go to the event with an intention, and the intention is to just have one meaningful conversation with one person. That's it. That's all I need to do. I cannot, and like I don't have capacity to talk to 50 people at a room or have 10 very meaningful conversations. And sometimes when you leave the event, you're like, was it actually worth it? Did I really like it? Did I really get out something out of that? And in majority of cases, if I didn't set out this intention, that the answer would probably be no. But because I did focus on just having one meaningful conversation with one person, which is very easy to do, my answer is always yes. And in order to make that one meaningful conversation easier, one simple hack that you can do is attend networking events by yourself. Listen, if you're gonna come there with a bunch of your girlfriends or your partner or your friend, you will default to talking to people that you already know. But the whole point of attending networking events is to meet people that are not in your circle yet. And how you're gonna do it if you're only talking to the group of people that you already know? So go to the networking event by yourself. I know, sounds counterintuitive, but like really believe me on this one. And focus on just having one meaningful conversation with just one person in that room. That's it. Now, because I had no idea what kind of events I could go to here in Vancouver, I'm going to be sharing the list of all my favorite event organizers, and I typically go to their events. I absolutely love them. They are very close friends of mine now at this point. So I'm going to be sharing all of the events I'm planning to attend within the next quarter. So make sure that you check them out, attend the events that you like, and hopefully I'm going to see you at one of them very soon.